Alright, so what I have here is 4 of these deep blue solar flare micros. I grabbed these a while back when they were on really on sale. I think I picked them up for like $8 a piece or something like that. Normally they're like 20, 25. And I got 4 of them. And this was like a year and a half ago I got all these, and I had a plan and just never got around to it. And the other day I said, screw it, I'll just finish this up. I kept experimenting with them and messing around with them. My plan was to get a 1 amp DC adapter, which I have plugged in back there, just this little guy right here. Plug it into the current single ramp timer. I wish this had a nighttime mode, like a night light, so it would just keep it at like 10% or something like that, but it doesn't. Maybe I probably could have gotten something else, but I was just trying to keep this simple. Well, not exactly simple. The whole thing turned out to be a little more complicated. I bought what they called a daisy chain DC plug, or 4-plug daisy chain connector that turned out, which I thought would be series, but it was not. Should have tested it first, because when I plugged it in, it turned out it was still parallel, and I burned out all of the LEDs in these little fixtures. So I spent something like $6 or $8 or something like that and got replacement LEDs off of eBay, which was actually kind of a good thing because they actually turned out to be better than the ones that Deep Blue put in there in the first place. They're a little bit wider, seem to have a little bit more spectrum to them, great color. The plants in my little 5-gallon, which isn't on right now, but just love it. Anyway, so I got this splitter, this 4-way splitter, and I actually carefully cut apart the junction. You can see a little chunk of the junction left over here that I saved on there, and this piece of the junction, and I completely took it apart and made it a series. Now, after this, I'm going to, take a piece of dental floss, tie this all down together nice and tight, and put this back together and seal it with just put a big coating of black silicone over this so it's just nice and clean and together. But I have already tested it. It works. And let's see if I can on, off, F1. So I'm going to start adjusting the time. I believe I had it set for 10:30. Oh, that's on. Oh, okay, let me go back. So you saw it kicked on. Let's go, we're going to have to go by minute. So I'm going by minute here. And it should start ramping up here in a second, or technically in a minute, at about 9:15 maybe. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's wrong. So it's at 10:15. It should start ramping up. Or is it 30? I can't remember what time I had it set for. Yeah, it's at 30. 10:30, it'll start ramping up. There's one. That looks really bright on the screen, but it's not. That's pretty much low. And it's going to start getting brighter, see? Brighter. 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 Really cool. And at 45, it'll be at maximum intensity. There it is. So I've got 4 of these connected together in series off of a ramp timer and a 1 amp adapter. Now, these could probably be a little bit brighter if I had gotten like a 1.05 amp or 1.1 amp, because this takes some power on its own. The timer takes a power on its own. I can just turn this off or on, and this makes it much more simple than having 4 plugs. And now I could have gotten a pre-built fixture, like one of the beams work or something like that. But I thought this would just be really cool. I'm gonna probably gonna take a piece of box aluminum with some 90s and make a little rack to sit high above the tank. You know, if you can imagine, like, this is the tank. It's gonna have a little rack on the back. Take these suction cups off, and there's a nut on the bottom of here, so I can. So you can see the nut on that one. I can drill holes in the aluminum and just mount it on there. And something I figured out with aluminum is if you want to make aluminum black instead of painting it, just take a Sharpie to it. It actually works pretty well. A few coats of a Sharpie on aluminum kind of stains it. Doesn't look bad. So I'm probably going to end up doing that, mounting these on that, so I'll have like a rack with these 4 arms coming off of it, hanging down over the top of the tank, and I can angle them, and it'll look really good. Probably going to upgrade that to a 10-gallon, maybe even build a little 10-gallon rimless or a 12-gallon rimless, and then put this assembly on that. That will be down the road, though, however. Not right away, probably in a few months I'll get around to doing that. On. Bow! Really cool. Anyway, just my little experiment. And it worked.